Welcome to the Titans Time Podcast, your Tennessee Titans podcast for the Pigskin Podcast Network. My name is Tanner Staggs. I'm here, as always, with my brother Tyler Staggs, and we are coming off of a Titans loss to a former winless New York Jets team. And we're going to get into all of that. 27-24, the final score after overtime. But Tyler, go ahead, tell all the listeners and all the people watching on YouTube how they can support the show. Guys, as we desperately need it after this game.
Guys, if you want to support the show, and gals too,
yeah, true.
Make sure to go check out our merch. We have shirts, phone cases, stickers. Going to be adding hoodies this next week. You know, getting that time. Need to get some hoodies out there.
Absolutely.
All you have to do is go to titans-time.myshopify.com/collections. If you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, make sure you're following or subscribed. Go down, leave us a 5-star rating, leave us some comments. Let us know what you think about this game. If you're watching on YouTube, go down. If that subscribe button is red, click it, turn it gray. Turn on the post notifications so you never miss when we upload a new video. Also, if you like the video, leave us a like on the video. We really appreciate it. Share the video with your family, friends, other football fans. You know, even if you're a Jets fan checking this out, hey, we would appreciate y'all subscribing and liking the video as well. And leave us some comments. Let us know your thoughts on the game, who you think's to blame. We're going to be getting into that more, but Tanner, tell them where they can find us on social media.
Yes, make sure you're following us on social media. On Twitter, it's Titans_time. On Facebook, Titans Time. And then on Instagram, Titans Time Podcast. Okay, let's get into this talk. Honestly, just talk about this brutal loss to the New York Jets. And I want to first and foremost just come out and say 100% props to the New York Jets for being ready as much as the Jets can be ready. And I can't really say anything bad about them because obviously they just beat the Titans. But huge props to them for being ready to capitalize on this. And honestly, defensively, they played a great game. Offensively, the rookie Zach Wilson, he still had some bumps and bruises along the way. Also some great plays. But just props to the Jets all around because they just flat out came and beat the Titans. And I did not give them the credit coming into this that they deserved.
Well, I'm going to say part of that is, this is not the Titans team that we've seen play the last
personally,
season and a half.
I think the Jets just came out and beat the Titans. I
think the Titans played down to their opponent. The Jets defense, we talked about this on our preview, they're good. We gave them that. The offense, I just think it was more poor play on our defense in the second half. And, the Jets offense came out and they made plays. Zach Wilson was able to connect on some deep balls that he hasn't been hitting on this year. The Titans were not able to get enough pressure on him. Before I dive into it more, shout out to Jacob Patterson. Big Jets fan. He thought that they could pull this game out.
The man called
it. He called it. I'll give it to him. I'm still pissed off about this game. We're just recording it a couple hours after it ended. And even if we would have hit that field goal in overtime,
it would have been a tie.
It would have been a tie.
To me, honestly, I would have rather than just go for the win and take a shot there because I would have been even more mad, I feel like, about a tie.
I don't know that I would have been.
Even though it would have been better in the standings.
I'm about to say, standings.
You don't tie with the Jets. You either beat the Jets or you play a piss poor game. And the Jets also at the same time come out and play their best game of the season and you lose to the Jets.
That's the point that I was going to get to. Standing wise, it would look better. But either way, it still sucks whether you tie with the Jets or you lose to the Jets like we did. It sucks.
Well, and let's not forget to mention that this is very deja vu like. We're talking about a Titans team that was finally starting to get some momentum that just lost to one of the, so far this season, and I think that they can turn it around, and you'll start to see a little bit more of this from the Jets. But so far this season, one of the worst teams in the NFL. Very deja vu like. Last season, look back to the Bengals game. And
there were a couple things that were
deja vu. A lot of similarities. There
were a couple things. For one, we wore, and this is just being superstitious, but we wore the navy jerseys with the white pants.
Well, I saw someone point that out.
That we wore last year against the Bengals when we got beat.
And someone pointed that out on Twitter prior to the game. I can't remember who it was.
But then our offensive line looked like they were back to week one. I mean, our offense, I don't know if it's on Tannehill. I don't know if it's on the offensive line, who it's on. But they cannot pick up the blitz to save their life. Tannehill sacked 7 times today. He's been sacked 17 times this season. I think Zach Wilson was the most sacked quarterback going into this game at 15. The Titans got him down 1 time. And now Tannehill is the most sacked quarterback.
And how does that make you feel?
It pisses me off. It really does, because part of them I do believe is on him, because he's standing back there holding on to the ball when he needs to be audibling to a hot route. Do some quick crossing routes. Don't sit back there waiting on these long developing routes when you know that they're bringing pressure. You don't have time for that. If you're going to do that, find a way to get out of the pocket and use your legs.
Well, we certainly segued into what I had planned on being the first segment, or the first portion of the podcast, just talking about the offensive line, obviously. Absolutely terrible game. Tannehill, as you mentioned, sacked 7 times, which is not great. And you don't win football games doing that. And it obviously reflects. I mean, the Jets defense, I think they're a really good defense, to be honest. I mean, I think they are at least a mid-level defense in the NFL, if not better. And if they would have had Marcus May today, like we had mentioned on the preview, it was huge that he was out. And it still was huge that he was out, because had they had him, it could have been even worse.
Well, you made a good point when we were watching the game. It was, and this goes back to the Titans' play calling, because I feel like the play calling sucked, especially on offense, when you're talking about Derrick Henry growing so much in his pass-catching abilities, but yet you turn around and every third down, it seems like he's out of the game. And especially earlier in the game, when Ben Jones goes out with an injury, you have Aaron Brewer, who, I'll give him credit, his first snap in, I was nervous, because I thought, okay, it's his first snap in the game, go under center, make it easy. It was shotgun. I was like, great, don't let anything bad happen. First little bit, it went fine. But then you get down, and I wanted to point this out, because it was when the Titans were up, when they ended up going up 6-0. They should have had a touchdown on this drive, but you get down to the Jets' 11. It's a 3rd and 1. Derrick Henry is off the field, and you're lining up in shotgun, and the snap goes over Tannehill's head, and we have to settle for a field goal. Why? Why in that short yardage situation is Henry off the field when his pass catching has improved?
And in that
do you know how many times he was targeted today?
I don't, off the top of my head.
He was targeted twice, and he caught both of them.
In my opinion, now granted, in that situation, you said it was a 3rd and...
It was a 3rd and 1.
3rd and 1. In that situation, Derrick Henry should have been in the game, and they should have been in either an I formation, some formation where Tannehill's under center and about to hand it to Derrick Henry running downhill, straight at the center.
That's the point that I'm making. When you get to a 3rd and short like that, I'm not saying he has to be out there for every 3rd down. If it's a 3rd and 10 or longer, has he proven that he has the ability to be out there? Yes. But if you want to bring him out on that and put McNichols in, because McNichols had a hell of a day catching the ball.
That's exactly the point that I was going to get to. I agree with you here about Derrick Henry should have been in the game. But other than that, though,
3rd and 4,
3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, anything longer than that, Jeremy McNichols was great. I mean, he was the best receiver today for the team.
That's what I'm saying. Just 3rd and 5 or shorter, put your best player out there on the field, even if he's just a decoy.
Right.
He makes a difference.
Yeah, I agree. But hey, Jeremy McNichols, while we're on the topic, 8 for 74. I mean,
our leading receiver.
Yeah, leading receiver. He stepped up in scenarios where you couldn't get anyone open, because obviously AJ Brown out, Julio out. How big of a difference did that play? off the top of my head, I can't tell you. What I do know is that the Tennessee Titans, and I mentioned this during the game, they were still trying to play football as if they had that receiver that you could throw the ball up to in one-on-one coverage. And they just, on passing downs, that's still what they were trying to do. You can't do that.
That's the point that I was trying to get to earlier when I got distracted with the play calling, and that one drive that really stood out to me is I was going to give you credit for that. They did not change their game plan to match the skill set of the receivers that they were going to have out there. These guys are not your one-on-one coverage beaters. Like, they're not just going to sprint down the field and beat their guy. Come up with some creative route trees for them, or route combinations, crossing routes, just something to help them out to get that separation.
Because I had mentioned Josh Reynolds he is not that receiver that you're going to send into the back of the end zone with one man on him. You're going to throw it up, and he's going to go up over them and catch it over the top, come down, get 2 feet in, just an amazing catch. That's not the guy that he is. He was in LA or with the Rams, and still is a possession receiver. And when you saw him have a lot of his success on his 6 catches for 59 yards, especially getting towards the end of the game when he had some pretty clutch catches on some of their drives, you saw him run those more possession type routes, those out routes, those different routes that are more fit to what he is used to doing and what he's had success doing. And I just feel like, especially with Nick Westbrook and with Josh Reynolds, they tried to just take those guys and fit them into the role that you would have had AJ Brown and Julio play in. Obviously, much less volume, other than once the game got into the later portion. Obviously, they had to start passing more. But I mean, with lower volume, essentially, they just tried to still do the same thing. I mean, they just weren't throwing it as often, but when they were, it was like, okay, this play worked for AJ, so we're going to have Nick Westbrook on a one-on-one coverage, and he's going to catch it. Well, no, he's not. I mean, at least 75% or more of the time he's not. So to me, it seemed almost, I don't know, a little bit lazy is maybe a good term for it, but it was just, it didn't work, obviously.
No, it didn't. And again, just all around, this was a bad game. Our offense, I feel like, did not play up to par with what we expect from them. Even with our top 2 receivers out, they didn't go out and do what they needed to do in the first half. Then second half, our defense started giving up the long ball down the field. I mean, we let Zach Wilson get out of the pocket, escape the pressure, and coverage down the field just shit the bed, and there's guys wide open down there. Let Corey Davis, who I think in his time with the Titans only had 1 touchdown over 50 yards, let him beat us for a 50-something yard touchdown. I mean, come on.
Great play by Zach Wilson. Like, for a rookie quarterback, I know this is really like making your head explode right now, but I just have to say, to roll out of the pocket, look downfield, and recognize what was happening, send Corey Davis down the field and place it perfectly.
For a rookie to have that presence,
I mean,
or that IQ of telling him to do that, realizing
that is the Zach Wilson that I was talking about. But coming into this season, could have been the best rookie quarterback.
Watching that play back again, when he does that, when you're seeing it from the view behind him, you look at Jenkins, and granted, he wasn't the one that was on Davis.
Right.
I believe it was Borders, which I still don't understand why Fulton got moved into the slot when he's been playing so well on the outside, matching up against these top receivers, for the other team. I feel like he was containing Corey Davis pretty well. He did give up 1 catch that I know for sure to him for a big game, but why move him to the slot? Why not keep him out there? But going back to this play, Jenkins sprints downfield when he sees Corey Davis, ahead of Borders, and it looks like all Jenkins would have to do is maybe come to his left a little bit, and maybe he can make a play on the ball. That could just be me thinking that, but from the view we had, I'm like, he just stays towards the sidelines instead of coming over to try and make a play on it. So, and I do want to point out, as with any NFL game, I mean, the officiating is not going to be perfect. You would like to see, after the pass interference call that they had on Crookshank, you go back and look at some of the plays that the Jets defensive backs had on Titans receivers, and you're like, okay, why is there not a flag there? But again,
well, they had the one that was huge in overtime that gave them the first down.
I mean, it was finally nice to get that, but the deep shot to Reynolds earlier in the game, which he should have brought in anyway. I mean, he got his hands on it. I felt like it was a perfectly placed ball by Tannehill, and he dropped it, but the cornerback was on him 3 yards before the ball got there. I mean, you can't tell me that's not interference. The corner's not turning back looking for the ball. No, he's on his back. But again, I'm not going to dive too far into that because the Titans offense should have put this game away early.
Yeah, they absolutely should have.
Worst case, they should have been up 17-0.
They definitely could have had this game put away by halftime. And I believe it was Kevin Byard that I saw from his press conference actually made note of that. I mean, he said even if a team is 0-3 in the NFL, this is essentially what he said. I'm paraphrasing here. Even if a team is 0-3, like that does not mean they're a bad team. And I agree with that. I think that I'm guilty of this from the game preview and just from going into this game. The New York Jets are a team that they have played some bad football games, but they played with the Carolina Panthers, which is something that I completely just neglected coming into this. They have played 2 bad games, yes. I don't think they're a bad football team. And
I'll say this, as far as the 0-3 teams going into this week, I did not think that they were the worst 0-3 team.
And I mean, Byard said that they had opportunities to put it away early, should have put it away early, and I 100% agree.
I mean, you had Christian Fulton's interception, his first of the season, and the commentators kept trying to kind of make the excuse, oh, Corey Davis slipped. Christian Fulton had that interception no matter if Corey Davis slipped or not. If you go back and watch that, as soon as Corey Davis goes to start his break, Fulton has the inside leverage on that. He read it. He knew it was coming.
Yeah, he made a great play.
So, but instead of getting a touchdown off of that, what do they get?
Just a field goal, I believe.
Yep. So, I mean, chances to put the game away early and just didn't capitalize on it. But I want to take a little break from just kind of giving an overview of the game. And let's go ahead and segue into our best bet segment, because this was definitely not my week for that.
No, it certainly wasn't. And we're going to get into that.
And this is why I say this is not betting advice.
That's definitely a great thing to say before we pretty much look back at our picks for this week and update the leaderboard as well. Before we do that, make sure that you know.
So this best bet segment is presented by
DraftKings. And if you're following our bets, make sure that you're doing it with the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. This week obviously is over, considering we're about to go back, or the whole week is not over, but since we're about to go back and look at our bets, and we won't be giving new bets until the game preview show for the next game against the Jaguars. So make sure that you're tuning in for that and checking out our bets. If you're going to follow us, make sure you also take advantage of this offer, because new customers can bet just $1 on any NFL game and receive $100 in free bets if either team scores a point at all.
It scores 1 point.
Just for the record, the last time that there was a tie, 0-0, was in 1943.
Wow.
So pretty sure you could say that you're going to get your $100 in free bets there. If the sportsbook, if it's not available in your state yet, there's still daily fantasy sports, cash prizes. Make sure you go and play those. I mean, it's always fun to play a fantasy football lineup and potentially be able to make some money for it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. Throw down $1 on any NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. That's promo code TPPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So let's get into these bets for this best bets segment. And before coming into this week, tied 1-1. So just to put that out there, and you can go ahead and
I'm just going to go ahead and get my 2 L's out there because I mean,
go ahead. Come on.
Look, you can't give me too much crap over this because you agreed that you thought my bets were good,
but I didn't pick them.
You had them. I seen your notes. You had them down, so don't even give me that. But my 2 bets were that the Titans' first half spread, that -3.5. All they had to do was be up by 4 or more. That's all they had to do.
And they ended up 9-7.
Like, see, that's where those touchdowns would have really come in handy.
Exactly.
And then I also said that I was going to take the under on the points, under 44.5, because I thought the Titans would probably score 20-something, and I didn't think the Jets would come close to 20. I'll just be honest with you. Didn't think their offense was going to start clicking this week to do that. So, yeah, my 2 were way off.
And then for me, I thought that the Titans, favored by 6 points, would cover that spread. Obviously, lost the game, so that's impossible. That one was a big L. But I will say, Ryan Tannehill, over 203.5 yards, hit on that one. He ended up with like 298, I think. So I'm still at 50%. I'm moving to 2-2, and you are 1-3. So I've got that little bit of a lead on you there.
You do. And it was just one of those things where luck was not on my side this week.
I agree.
All I needed was some touchdowns. I'm telling. I believe if the Titans score those touchdowns on the first 2 out of the 3 drives, I don't think the Jets come back and even. I believe you get your other bet right.
I agree. Yeah, I think that would have put the game away.
But again, that's why we say when we jump into these segments that this is not betting advice, because if you took what I said as advice,
because Tyler is a degenerate. So I will now take the crown for the better, and we will continue on into the next week where I'll extend my lead.
That's okay, because I still have the crown of bold predictions right now.
Okay.
So, and just looking over here, because...
Well, hang on. There is something else that I do want to get into first. I wanted to put out one positive note about this game. If you care about individual stats and not just about the Titans winning, Derrick Henry, 33 rushes, 157 yards, and a touchdown. A great game by him. Another game of a lot of usage, but hey, I mean, we talked about that on the game preview show. It's okay. Keep putting him out there.
We did talk about this, but this was one of those games where I thought, okay, the Titans will go up early enough and by enough that fourth quarter, maybe Henry doesn't have to play. He can take it a little bit easy, rest up for when he gets to go to Jacksonville and tell him daddy's home. But, that didn't happen.
Interesting choice of words there. But hey, 157 yards. I mean, he had a great game. And if you care at all...
Averaging almost 5 yards a carry.
If you care at all about individual stats, that puts him up over 500 for the season. And now on pace for 2,167 and a half, actually, if you can get half yards in the NFL. But 2,167 yards on the season is what he's on pace for right now.
But I'm going to say this. Looking at it, we know Derrick Henry does not care about individual stats. He cares about that team winning. I
agree, although I do have a bet for him to beat the single season rushing record. So if he could end up doing that, that would be great.
Speaking of some bets, this was off to the side. Unfortunately, they did not use DraftKings for this. But 2 of our friends, Drake and Jacob, had a little friendly bet going on. Jacob said that Henry would not touch 150 total yards. Said that he did
that just by rushing.
Exactly. He said he would be under, and Drake said, you know what, I'll take that bet. He'll go over that. And Drake won $10 off of it. So, I mean, that, if you want to look at...
Fortunately for Jacob, he used DraftKings and won a lot more than that on the Jets winning. So.
Well, I wasn't going to mention that. But
anyways, yeah, let's continue on.
Something I was going to jump into earlier is it looks like no one else's bold prediction come true this week. I know mine didn't. I think I said that Tannehill would have 4 total touchdowns, 3 passing, 1 rushing. Can't remember what yours was.
I said that the Titans would win by a lot of points.
You said that they would, I believe it was quadruple
the spread.
The spread, and then even went on to make it
24-0.
24-0. So
the Titans did score 24 points, by the way. So one half of that score prediction correct.
I had my half of the score prediction correct. I said Titans 24 as well, and
we were at least onto something.
We were. So just going back and looking at some of the other bold predictions. Titans Rossi said that that Mason Kinsey would see some action. He wasn't out there unless you count people seeing him in pregame, just on the sidelines doing a little work. Titans Mafia said that...
It technically is some action.
I think he meant game action, though.
Nah.
Titans Mafia said that the Titans defense would hold Corey Davis under 50 receiving yards, and said Christian Fulton.
A little bit off on that one.
He had 111, I believe, mainly coming off of that 53-yard catch. Carey said that no sacks allowed.
Very off.
Sorry, very off on
Sorry,
that
Carey,
but Drake said that Henry would have over 225 total yards.
And he
had 170.
He was close on that one, so
he had 170.
Props to Drake. Probably the closest of the bold predictions that missed here.
Well, not necessarily, because Jacob said that
he doesn't count.
Zach Wilson would have more passing yards and a better passer rating than Tannehill.
And he was 1 yard off.
He was very close on that.
I forgot that was his prediction.
And he also said that Corey Davis would have more total yards than Henry. That didn't happen. And Spencer came in with Henry 148 total yards, 1 touchdown. He would have had it if he would have just kept that. But he added Chester Rogers 2 touchdowns and a Ryan Tannehill rushing touchdown.
Which makes it bold. I mean, to say 148 for Henry is not necessarily bold.
Exactly, because that was some stuff we went over last year and kind of trying to cheese it a little bit.
Right.
But now, getting back to the game, just to recap a little bit more. Like I said, first half, that's pretty much on our offense, I feel like. Because our defense was doing good. They did let the Jets go down and score a touchdown before half. But second half is when the Jets really opened it up.
Yeah, I mean, it was just... I was optimistic going into the second half. And then to come in and see Zach Wilson sort of completely turning his game around. And granted, he still made some rookie mistakes in that second half. Still made some bad throws, whatever.
I mean, there was one that... Had his throw been accurate, Christian Fulton was taking it for 6.
True. And hey, that's an instance where him not being accurate saved him there.
But there was also a couple of Ryan Tannehill throws that were like that as well,
True.
Where if the defender would have been paying attention, he could have...
Oh, there were several instances where the New York linebacker, Williams, could have probably ended the game with pick 6.
That's the guy that I was talking about.
So... At any point, had he not been worried about absolutely murdering Jeremy McNichols, then he probably just could have ended the game whenever. But, I mean, Zach Wilson, honestly, I want to give him props because he played really an excellent second half in comparison to how he's been playing the rest of the season.
He did. I mean, the Jets come out, he had time, and he used his legs to his advantage. I mean... I thought the Titans were going to be able to get back there, get pressure on him. And the thing that I pointed out is it seemed like a lot of the times when he had been sacked, it was because he was holding on to the ball too long. These plays, he held on to the ball for a while, but the Titans secondary gave in before the pass rush could get to him.
And a lot of times he would just run away from the pass rushers out of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, so it was tough watching that.
And he ended up with a 97.3 rating, whereas Tannehill with an 85.2. So,
like we said, Jacob was close.
he was
just
just
a couple more
close.
passing yards.
He was 1 yard away from him tying. So,
Well, I mean, really, he was just the Jets scoring the touchdown in overtime away from it because Tannehill wouldn't have got any more passing yards.
right.
So, but again, as we've been talking about it, I've calmed down a little bit more about this game.
Thankfully, because I really thought we were going to have a scene
I had
about the
some
middle of the show.
I had some blood vessels in my head earlier that felt like they were about to explode, and I'm still not happy because this is a game we shouldn't have lost.
But I mean, hey, what can you do about it? You know?
Nothing. They have to fix the problems. We cannot keep playing down the teams. We're facing a 0-4 Jaguars team next week.
Also a sleeper team, though. Trevor Lawrence played a great game against the Bengals.
That's another thing I was going to throw out. We need to go down there and take care of business and at least win our division games. Because after that game, things don't get any easier.
Buffalo has been just raking every single team over the coals.
Buffalo, who after last year, they're going to be looking for revenge. Then Kansas City. And then, is it the Colts again right after that?
I can't remember, to be honest. That sounds right.
I believe, I believe it would be. Yep.
Yeah, Colts game. And then the Rams.
Who just got their first win against the Dolphins. So, I mean, again, this stretch is not easy. I was hoping we would go into that Buffalo game 4-1. Now we have to be hoping for 3-2, and that we can either steal one from them or from Kansas City.
Which is going to be really, really tough. So we'll see how things go.
It is. But to kind of end this on a positive note, I want to know players that you thought played well today for the Titans.
I thought that, to be honest, I was actually pretty pleased with what I saw from Josh Reynolds. I think in a context where you see AJ Brown and Julio out there, and there's not so much focus on him, I think he really carves out a role there and can really play well.
Okay. Anyone else? Because I kind of have a list of guys that I'm going to get into, and
I'll let you go ahead. I'll let you go ahead and take that over.
Okay. So Derrick Henry, I'm starting from the most obvious and going down here. Derrick Henry, he did his thing. He did what was asked of him. I mean, the only thing he could have done better was if he would have broke that one run in overtime for a touchdown. But, I mean, you're putting a lot on his shoulders there. Jeremy McNichols, he did what we needed him to do in catching the ball. I mean, in my opinion, it's kind of bad when you have a running back that leads your team in receiving yards.
I agree.
Now, jumping over to the defensive side of the ball, Harold Landry.
Yeah, he played a great game.
He is still getting good pressure on the quarterback. He's making plays, not just getting after him, but even outside in coverage. I mean, he's doing good. And Danico Autry.
Yeah, he made a huge play in overtime.
He made several big plays for tackles for loss and everything else. So those are guys that I feel like really stepped up. Fulton, he had an all right game, but it was not what we had been seeing from him. And part of that comes, I think, from him maybe being moved to the slot. Do want to talk about Jenkins, though.
I thought you said you want to end this on a positive note.
I did say that, but after I got
and now you just want to get pissed off again before you go back and watch Tom Brady and the New England Patriots tonight, which is going to be interesting.
That doesn't affect me.
Okay, asshole. I'm just interested to watch some good football and watch Tom Brady come back.
I'm guessing you didn't see Vrabel's press conference the other day. They asked him, Jim White asked him about Brady heading back up to Foxborough to play the Patriots, and Vrabel just told him,
"That doesn't affect me one bit. Doesn't affect me one bit.
That doesn't affect me."
And that's why I miss a lot of Vrabel's press conferences, but I love being able to tune in every now and then and listen. Because the other day, I believe they were asking him about David Long, and I can't remember who asked him the question, but they were like, could you see him, kind of carving out a role for himself as a starter? And he said, well, he started the past 2 games. I think that would qualify him as a starter.
So, because it's a game where Vrabel's trying to get the team ready for the Jets, and they're asking him about the Patriots and Bucks, Tom Brady, and he, that has nothing to do with me. Like, yeah, I played with him, but oh well. Like,
right.
That's not where I'm at now. But Jenkins, I've been kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt because he's been able to come up when shorter routes have been ran and make the tackle. Like, he doesn't let the guy get by him. But this playing 10 yards off the receivers again.
Well, it wasn't him that was doing that last year necessarily. So,
but
that goes to show that it has to be something that's being coached to them.
But that's not what's being said in the press conference because, especially in the third and short situations, Vrabel has come out and said that's not something we're coaching. For them to be that far off.
Why is it consistently... Why is it a trend among the Titans defensive backs then?
I don't know. I really don't. But there was a play early in the game where Davis got his first catch, and I told you about this earlier. I called what he was going to do. I seen how far Jenkins was back. He's going to run an out route right past the sticks. And guess what he did? He ran an out route wide open. We can't keep having that. He needs to come up and play physical with these receivers at the line of scrimmage. And honestly, he's looking a tad slow, so maybe that's why he's not. But then he also got beat on another deep pass today because he just wasn't set and ready. The defense was still making some adjustments, and the rookie took advantage of it. Something we would expect to see from maybe Aaron Rodgers, where he catches the defense like, and no, a rookie quarterback done it. So
really just decided to go in on Jenkins right before we close out the show. But
I felt like I needed to get it out there, or else I was just going to keep it, inside until we get to the Jaguars preview, and then it was going to come out there. So might as well touch on it now. Again, we will end it on a positive note. Guys that look good: Henry, McNichols, Autry, Landry, and you say Josh Reynolds.
Right. And I mean, hey, there's still a lot of season to go. So I feel like that is a positive and optimistic thing to leave on. There's a lot of season left. And listen, one loss is not going to define everything. If this team is good enough to make it deep in the playoffs and make it to the Super Bowl, there's still the opportunity for that to happen.
Just got to get back.
And if there's not, the NFL will come again next year and the year after that and the year after that. So, hey.
See, no, I'm not taking that approach. We need to start winning games and taking care of business because...
And that's why you're unhappy on Sundays. And
I can't help it because...
I'm content.
Do you think, when you look at this team on paper, do you consider them a contender for the Super Bowl?
I consider them, tier 2 for the Super Bowl.
But you consider that they are a contender?
Under the right circumstances, yes.
Okay. When you lose a game like this that you should win, that makes it tough to stay in that category. That's why the national media discredits us. I mean, this is a game we should have won no matter what. I usually am not the one going in on the team like this. Usually you're the more pessimistic one.
Well, that doesn't mean that I go in on any... I mean...
But if this game gets me off to that point...
Although I have a more sometimes realistic, I'm not going to use the word pessimistic, but realistic outlook on things going in, I also tend to kind of brush it off easier after a loss.
That may be true, but maybe my passion for the team just burns a little bit.
That also could very well be true. I mean,
but either way, we're riding and dying with this team, no matter what. Wins, losses. I mean, we've been with them even through the 2-14 seasons. We're not going to leave them now, and I do think that they can turn it around. But we can't keep playing down to teams like we did today. That's the biggest thing for me, and that's what pisses me off, is if the Jets would have just come out and played their absolute best game ever, and we played our best game and they beat us, okay, it is what it is. But when we play down to a team, I don't believe this was the best game the Jets could have played. They had several mistakes that they made.
Well, they played just good enough to win.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. We played down to their standards. So,
or did they play up just enough to win the game?
May have been a combination of both.
I mean, who knows?
But either way, Titans will turn it around. Let's move forward to Jacksonville. That's where our thoughts are going to be this week as we get ready for our game preview. And hopefully we see another division win by the Titans this next weekend.
Make sure you tune in sometime towards the end of this week for the game preview video over the Titans and Jaguars game. Hopefully the Titans can pull out a division win there. Hope you guys have enjoyed this show. Let us know what side you kind of stand on. The more ranting type or the, hey, I mean, the Jets just really played a great game. So let us know down in the comments or on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any of those.
Everyone deals with the game in a different way.
I agree, 100%. So let's know how you deal with it. Is that better?
There we go.
All right, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching or listening. This has been Titans Time, and as always, tighten up.